David McCullough, 1776, America and Britain at War. Dive into the tumultuous year of 1776, as David McCullough brings to life the struggles and triumphs of the American Revolution. Explore the human side of the story, from the hardships faced by George Washington and his ragtag army to the resilience and determination that ultimately allowed them to prevail against the well-trained and well-equipped British forces. Engage with the strategic decisions, daring gambits, and strokes of luck that helped to shape the outcome of the conflict. This summary of 1776, America and Britain at War, offers an insightful glimpse into the monumental events that led to the birth of a nation.
The rise of King George III's power. King George III ruled England with his love for music, art, and architecture at the outset of the American Revolution. He remained in full power for over 15 years before the onset of his eventual madness. In 1775, he addressed Parliament and promised to quell the rebellion in America, leading to the deployment of British forces to Boston. Washington's siege, the Battle for Boston. In 1775, General George Washington led only 14,000 out of 20,000 New Englanders to fight against 7,000 British troops and warships. Despite lacking a professional cartographer to map the terrain, an engineer to build defenses, and gunpowder, Washington instilled discipline and fought small skirmishes and night raids. However, disease and desertion plagued his troops, who were not trained soldiers and wore filthy rags. In contrast, the British troops kept themselves clean and largely avoided sickness. Despite these challenges, Washington maintained his public optimism and persevered through the winter. Washington's rise to leadership. Washington's transition from a wilderness surveyor to a military commander during the French and Indian War was the beginning of his remarkable leadership. His marriage to Martha Custis enabled him to enjoy a lavish lifestyle. Upon receiving the command to lead American forces in 1775, Washington expressed doubts concerning his qualification, but his natural leadership qualities made him the perfect fit. Despite facing better trained, disciplined, and equipped British forces, Washington's stature, confidence, and dignity compelled his men to follow him, giving him an edge in battle. Washington's rise to leadership continues to inspire many today. Washington's wild plan. In 1775, Washington's army faced a shortage of arms, and Congress rejected his plans to attack the British. He supported Colonel Henry Knox's bold plan to retrieve heavy cannon from Fort Ticonderoga and transport them to Boston. Knox successfully brought back 120,000 pounds of mortars and cannons and led the Americans in hauling them to the top of Dorchester Heights in one night. The British awoke to find themselves facing 20 cannons pointing at them. They retreated, and General William Howe ferried more than 9,000 troops to Halifax, Nova Scotia. Washington's army celebrated the victory, which proved his strategic capabilities and led to his recognition as a hero. The triumph boosted morale and provided momentum for the upcoming battle in New York City. Washington's struggle in New York. In Washington, a Life, the importance of New York during the Revolutionary War is highlighted. The city was both symbolically and strategically valuable, serving as the gateway to Canada and granting the British a shadow army of loyalist spies. George Washington's 9,000 men were vastly outnumbered by the British's 30,000, including Hessian mercenaries. Although they had a strategic advantage in Brooklyn Heights, the American forces had to build extensive fortifications to defend against the largest armada in history. Finally, the defense of New York hinged on holding the heights. The Battle of Brooklyn Heights. In August 1776, a superior British force of thousands of veteran troops led by Howe threatened Washington's smaller army, who made the mistake of dividing his forces between Manhattan and Brooklyn Heights. The British landed 15,000 troops on Long Island, attacking from all sides and almost crushing the colonial army. Washington ordered 1,200 more troops from New York to Brooklyn Heights, but he soon realized his peril and evacuated his position, luckily escaping across the East River to Manhattan during a massive storm. The Battle of Brooklyn Heights could have ended differently if Howe had pressed on or the wind had turned earlier, but Washington's decision to retreat saved the revolution. Despite criticism for splitting his forces, Washington returned to fight another day. Washington's harsh retreating journey during the Revolutionary War. Washington's relentless pursuit of freedom for the new nation leads him to make some difficult decisions, including a strategic retreat, a successful battle, and a catastrophic loss. During the Revolutionary War, General George Washington led his troops north toward Westchester County while a portion of American soldiers remained behind to protect against British forces. The Americans scattered before the invaders, despite Washington leading his horse into the battle, shouting for them to hold and threatening them with execution. Despite their retreat, the American army won a fierce battle at Harlem Heights. The British claimed that American infiltrators started a fire that burned a quarter of New York to the ground on the night of September 20th. The infamous Nathan Hale was captured by the British and famously declared his regret that he had only one life to give for his country. As the Americans continued their journey north, General Howe attacked by land in October, suffering significant losses and making minimal gains. Washington struggled to determine his next steps, ultimately allowing General Nathanael Greene to make the decision to hold Fort Washington in northern Manhattan. However, thanks to American traders, the British had sound intelligence regarding Washington's divided forces. On November 16, the British and Hessians attacked Fort Washington from all sides in a battle that resulted in a catastrophic loss for the new nation. Despite harsh criticism from Congress for failing to evacuate the fort, Washington refused to deflect the blame and did not demote General Greene, whom he still considered one of his most able generals. In summary, Washington's pursuit of freedom for the new nation was filled with difficulties, including a strategic retreat, a successful battle, and a catastrophic loss. Despite these challenges, Washington remained steadfast in his pursuit of independence for the colonists. Washington's risky move. With just 3,000 men, mostly shoeless and barely clothed, Washington marched to Pennsylvania while General Howe dispatched Cornwallis to destroy the remnants of the American army. By December 2, Washington reached the Delaware River while Congress abandoned Philadelphia. Despite thousands of Americans signing pledges of allegiance to the English king, Washington ferried his troops across the Delaware, just ahead of Cornwallis. Instead of pursuing them, Howe halted operations until spring, and Washington's army grew again. Washington devised a risky offensive against the Hessians camped at Trenton to lift his soldiers' spirits. With 4,000 troops and cannon, Washington crossed the icy Delaware to launch a surprise attack, almost his entire army. The small army lacked shoes and proper equipment but was battle-hardened and determined. Cornwallis took leave in England, while Howe moved his troops back to New York, leaving only 1,500. The victorious American Revolution. Washington's daring raid on Trenton inspires a battle for the history books and a spirit of pride among American troops. Cornwallis marches towards Princeton but is met with fierce American resistance led by Washington himself. The British troops soon surrender in a stunning display of American might. America's revolutionary leaders. The American Revolution ended in 1783 with the Treaty of Paris after enduring a brutal year of war. Thanks to crucial assistance from France and the Netherlands, American generals, Nathanael Greene and Henry Knox, played critical roles in securing their victory. Yet, it was George Washington's steadfast leadership, not his military prowess, that inspired and unified his army. While lacking in oratory skills or intellectual pursuit, Washington's resoluteness kept morale high, which ultimately kept the nation from faltering in its fight for independence.
Having journeyed through the pivotal year of 1776, we have witnessed the unparalleled determination and resourcefulness displayed by the American forces as they fought for independence. This period gave rise to the remarkable leaders and heroic acts that would forever shape the United States, despite the many challenges and setbacks encountered along the way. As McCullough masterfully recounts these historical events, we gain a deeper appreciation for the individuals who laid the foundation for the nation we know today. Through their perseverance, and under the guidance of George Washington, The United States emerged victorious in the face of adversity and began its journey as an independent country.